And where we're going is, we're going to agenda item 47. We'll do the public comments and all kinds of comments after we do this, but we want to vote on these. So, number 47.
Yes, I know, I should get that there. Okay, resolution number 47-2016, authorization to renew the contract with Best Luther Fire District for the furnishing of fire protection. I'd like to move the foregoing resolution. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Councilor Matters?
Yes.
Councilor DiMartino?
Yes.
Supervisor Conway?
Yes.
Councilor Grant?
Yes.
Councilor Tierney?
Yes.
Resolution number 48-2016, authorization to renew the contract with Best Luther Fire District on behalf of the 3rd Avenue Fire Protection District for the furnishing of fire protection. I'd like to move the foregoing resolution. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Councilor Matters?
Yes.
Councilor DiMartino?
Yes.
Supervisor Conway?
Yes.
Councilor Grant?
Yes.
Councilor Tierney?
Yes.
You're all set, guys. It's you.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, we have no microphones tonight. Well, we have microphones.
They don't work.
They just
They
don't
have
work.
to gavel. That you can hear.
This works. Just saying. Okay, we're gonna start with comments from the councilors. Councilor DiMartino first.
Okay, I wanted to congratulate Jessica Lansing on becoming the Capital Region representative on the executive board for the New York State Recreation Park and Park Society, and Recreation and Park Society. Also, we are still accepting summer camp registrations. If you know any little ones that want to do something for the summer and have a ball at summer camp. And lastly, there are 2 spots left for the seniors paint and punch being held this Friday at Town Hall. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Councilor Matters.
Yes, thank you. It has been noted that the Citizens Fiscal Advisory Committee has not met in a year. The supervisor has asked Deputy Supervisor Maura Ryan to look at the current mission and composition of the board and recommend what needs to be done to get this committee working again. As liaison to the Ethics Board, I would like to report that there was an Ethics Board meeting on February 3rd and a workshop last night on February 16th to look at the definition of relatives and financial disclosure. Reading now from the supervisor's report, the purpose of the workshops is to review proposed amendments to the existing code. Each workshop will focus on 2 sections which will be reviewed in detail and discussed with members of the public. After the public workshops are finished, the Board of Ethics will prepare a complete draft of a new code that will be submitted to the town board for its approval. At that point, a public hearing will be held before the revised code of ethics can be approved. As liaison to fire services, I would like to report that the board attended 2 events this month. Saturday, January 3rd was the 100th annual East Greenbush Fire Company installation banquet, and Saturday, February 13th, was the Clinton Heights Fire Department annual inspection and installation event. For the first time in a long time, the whole board attended these events to show interest, support, and appreciation for the critically important work of our fire services companies in our town. Our town supervisor was asked to speak at both events. There was great enthusiasm and appreciation for our attendance. As liaison to the ambulance district, I can report only that this is an area that has not yet generated much discussion by the board, but that it is certainly a critically important district in need of attention. I hope to have more to report in the coming months. And lastly, the first town hall meeting to discuss water quality is being held on February 29th. In preparation for that meeting, please note that the Hampton Manor District's annual drinking water quality report for the years 2013 and 2014 are on the town's website, and the 2015 report is not anticipated to be out until May. Anyone who would like a copy of my report, my comments, would just have to email me. Thank you.
Councilor Grant?
Two things. I attended the Friends of the Library meeting and also the Library Board of Trustees meeting. They're in the process of working on a strategic plan. They're just starting out working on a strategic plan. And if any members of the community are interested in participating in that, please contact the library. It's going to kind of be a reevaluation or an evaluation of where they're going to be heading in the next few years. So it's actually an important bit of planning that people should take a look at and pay attention to. Strategic planning is always important, but in the case of the library, they're going about it really in the right way. They're trying to solicit public comment, public participation. So I would encourage you to stay involved, contact the library if you're interested in it. I also attended the Center for Economic Growth 2016 Capital Region Local Government Council and participated in their legislative agenda meeting. One of the items that they are recommending that local governments consider, and Councilor Tierney and myself are working together on this with Dave Gruenberg. We've drafted a resolution that hopefully will be considered next month. Essentially supporting annual funding for municipalities for infrastructure upgrades and improvements, kind of modeled on the CHIPS program that highways are doing now. So this would be an option for people in our situation, local governments, particularly in our situation with construction projects for water and sewer. It might be a good way for the state government to take a look at funding that on an annual basis as they do the highway program. So again, we're drafting a resolution. We hope to have that on the agenda for the next town board meeting. Thank you.
Councilor Tierney?
Just quickly, I was asked to let people know if they're interested in the Regeneron projects, that public hearings will be scheduled within the next 30 to 60 days, and they'll be noted on the website. And also, anyone wanting to file tax exemptions for the East Greenbush School District, those applications are due by March 1st. That's it.
Okay, I just want to talk briefly, he said hopefully, about the sewer rate increase that's coming. I wrote some things on the town website, and I've gotten some inquiries about whether I jumped the gun or did we really have to raise the sewer rates. We got an email today from the Environmental Facilities Corporation, who has funded the wastewater treatment plant and with whom we'll be doing the permanent financing closing in August. And they would like to know the rate increases we intend to impose in order to pay off this debt. Now, that has to be in the closing documents. So people who think we have time to do all kinds of different studies and delay this, you have to understand that if you do not pay the money back to the Environmental Facilities Corporation, they come in and they impose the rate increases on the people of East Greenbush. We lose our autonomy as a municipality if we don't pay it. In 2007 and closed in 2008, this town borrowed $14+ million from the Rensselaer County Water and Sewer Authority at 5% interest. $6.55 million of that was for sewers. Okay, we now have $15.6 million of debt coming with the permanent financing. That's $22.1 million of debt service. We pay $400,000 a year on the existing loan from Rensselaer County. We're going to almost $700,000 on what's coming. We're going to be carrying $1.1 million in debt service annually for the sewer system of the town of East Greenbush. The rates haven't been increased since 2011. The town spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of that Rensselaer County money laying lines, buying rights of way and easements to hook up to the county, which never happened and never will happen. So that's hundreds of thousands of dollars for the sewers that went down the drain. We get these GEIS fees, generic environmental impact statement fees, that are dedicated to sewer and water. They have not gone to sewer and water, okay? We're going to have a sewer rate increase. It's going to be significant. It's not going to be fun, but it's real. It has to happen. We have no other way to pay for this. And the thought that this study that had been proposed last year and brought up again this year from Delaware Engineering, that's what we need before we do this, is, I'm going to be kind here, is misguided. Because what's being presented in the public is that either we do the Delaware study or we make it up. And I'm here to tell you that the Delaware study had two parts to it. One of it was to figure out how to rationalize our sewer districts, which are a mess, okay? The study would have taken months and months. Nobody knows, nobody's sure how much. $50,000 to contract to consultants to study what you need to do to your sewer districts is a nice way to say those consultants are creating $400,000 to $500,000 of work for themselves. Okay? The era of the consultant in the town of East Greenbush is over. You elected these 5 people to make the decisions, and we're going to make them. There is nothing that an engineer knows about setting sewer rates that can't be done from up here. You elected 3 new people to this board who have 6 university degrees and a lifetime of experience with public policy and statistical analysis. We do not need engineers to tell us how to run this town. That day is done. And so let me just be clear, we're not doing that study, but we're not going to make it up as we go. We're working hard at it, we're figuring it out. We will present our methodology to you, we'll present our results to you. There'll be a public hearing in April. We'll listen to everybody. If somebody's got a better idea, we're all for it. We're talking to residents and commercial interests in Skodak about increasing the sewage capacity they get from us. We're renegotiating a permit agreement with Gorelick Farms. We're looking for grants. We're going to raise the rate higher on commercial users than residential users. We're doing everything we can to minimize the pain. But at the moment, the people of the town of East Greenbush pay ridiculously low rates for the sewers. And when we're done, and it will be a significant increase, we will be about average for a municipality this size in the sewer rates that we will pay. It's going to look precipitous. This is the hand we were dealt. We're going to play it. We're going to play it strong. We're going to play it smart. So anybody who thinks we're fooling around with this, anybody who thinks we turned down that study because we're not interested in being systematic or getting this right, is on the wrong path. Okay? The major part of that study was to put the 4 sewer districts on an equivalent basis in terms of the property tax sewer charge. What we're raising is the user rates. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, so that study would have taken a long time. Its results to be implemented would have taken years. And I'm not exaggerating. It would have taken years and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And by that time, the Environmental Facilities Corporation would own this town. We would be bankrupt, and it's not going to happen. It just simply is not going to happen. We're going to take responsibility for our decisions. We're going to do the work. We're going to present it to you. We're going to make it as fair as we can, and we move forward. Okay, so I just want to get that stuff clear, because the other side of this is that what we really need to do is be transparent in how we do this. And that's why I'm talking about it tonight, and that's also why I'm talking about it before the public comment. So if anybody wants to say anything about what I just said or has any questions, feel free to bring it up. So With that, we'll open public privilege. Please note each speaker may choose to state name and address prior to addressing the board and shall be granted the floor for up to 5 minutes. The board thanks everyone in attendance for their understanding and also for their desire to actively participate in the decision-making process locally. All speakers must conduct themselves in a civil manner. Personal attacks will not be tolerated, okay? That's what this is for. Boyd, would you like to speak?
Yeah. First of all, I'm Floyd Hunt, I guess your speaker doesn't work here.
Yes. If you can speak up.
I'm Floyd Hunt, I think you're a town clerk, that's who I am. Anyway, you touched on one of the subjects in your speech, Jack, and, you know, I'm a businessman myself a little bit, I run a little DJ business, you know, and not that it amounts to anything, but when I look at the businesses that we got left here on 9 and 20 and Route 4 over there, not very many. And I know you mentioned in there that you're gonna go after them first. And as a businessman, I'm saying, how do we get other revenue here? And you know we have a lot of storefronts. I don't have to tell you where they are. You can stand out in front of Town Hall and see where some of them are. What we really need to do, I think, is focus on trying to get business in here. I mean, I know what you're going after that problem, and that's a separate issue more or less. But what I'm trying to say is to go after that, you have to get a business in here. Now, I mentioned the one last month, ShopRite, and you told me, well, they wanted the whole thing to big last month. We gotta go after some other places. How about, well, I started to say it before, there's only 2 in New York State. One's out in Cayuga County, one's in Oneida County, and that's pro shops. You know, because you got the Hudson River out here, you got a lot of striper fishermen and all that other stuff. I mean, should I take the time to write them letters and stuff and say, hey, we live in this town called East Greenbush, we'd like you to come here and set up shop, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And what would they find when they get here? Oh, there's going to be a sewer increase. Well, I'll say, goodbye, you guys. We'll see you next minute. We'll let you know. You know, it's like applying for a job and they tell you as you went out the door, well, we'll call you when we need you, you know. So my point is, I'm trying to make here, is we got to be careful how we handle our businesses that are in here. And second of all, we have to get some new business in here. Because that's why we are paying a lot of money as individual landowners throughout wherever we are here in East Greenbush, because of the fact that we don't have a base. It took us a while to get FedEx in here, and thank God we got in here, but we need to have something like that again. You know, and you got that huge storefront down there, it's still empty, you know, and I always say to my wife when I go buy something, wonder how many years that's going to stay in. How many years has the Pizza Hut been empty? That is about 5 or 6 years. You don't realize time goes by. Yeah, I bet it is. You find out.
But I get the point.
And that's what I'm trying to say. We have to go after those places. That's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, and we're working on incentives. We're trying to market that site. We've got a lot of exciting things coming up. But when it comes to raising the sewer rate increases, I think Walmart should pay more than the people on my block.
Well, I would agree on some of the ones that are really making it, but what I'm trying to say, you got a lot of little business along the road here.
Yes, yes.
And it should be really devastating for some of them to go into that. Just thinking about it, you know.
I don't think it would be devastating. I think right now, the way the rates are set up, for example, in the general sewer district, residents are paying $1.42 per 1,000 gallons of usage. At the county, you're paying $3.69, okay? Currently, residents are paying $1.42. Commercial interests are paying $1.48. $1.48 per 1,000 gallons for commercial is criminally low. Criminally low. And so if we raise that 100%, it would still be incredibly low, and it would be an attractive piece if somebody was looking to move a business here. But I do take the point. I mean, you've got to walk that line between incentivize and
Well, we'll just have to wait and see, because if they start tacking up and moving off the road down here, some of the little tiny ones that are out there, and if you go up here like where that little color shop is, and those little people are next to the bowling alley, you got a lot of tiny little businesses in there. You know?
yeah, but they're paying for usage. So if they're tiny and they're not using a lot of water, then.
I don't know what to use, that's a good question.
No, but I take the point, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Anyone else? Yes. Ms. Tice.
Hi, Liz Tice. Is there any way we can go after the previous administration for mismanagement? There isn't.
Well, I think on November 3rd we did.
Well, that doesn't address the money issue. Did any of us know that we had paid for this county hookup stuff?
Well, what happened was, and that's one of the reasons I'm not big on this study. In 2012, there was something called the consolidated study where Delaware Engineering, the firm in question here, and Hank LaBarba did an analysis of sewer and water rates as part of the decision-making process. Should we hook up to the county or should we upgrade our wastewater treatment plant? There actually was a third option that people don't talk about, which was doing a certain type of upgrade to our plant and then having an arrangement with the county for anything over a certain capacity. And what happened in that study is Delaware Engineering at the end of the study wrote to the town and basically said the data is not available. They couldn't complete the study. But then what happened is we had public hearings here. We were presented with the option of hooking up to the county or doing it our way. A number of costs, like for example, it estimated debt service would be $450,000 instead of the $700 we're going to get. It didn't include telling us about the money that was spent. It told us the financing would be 0.7, which turned out to be the construction financing, where the permanent financing is going to be 2%. That's 3 times the amount. But having said that, there's 2 things that need to be said. After these sewer rate increases, we still will be a better deal than the county.
You think so?
Yes, and secondly, it's going to be, it virtually is now a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment facility. For 30 years, our infrastructure should be set. And when Floyd talks about attracting commercial development, we go from 2.8 million gallons capacity a day to 4.4. We could get Columbia Turnpike booming and we can handle it. So it's fait accompli. We're here, the town did it, but what I'm saying about the money that was spent is it's an example of how this day was not planned for. And as far as previous administration, I'm not going to second guess things. As I sit down in that office for 48 days now, there's a million things that come at you. There's half a dozen to a dozen decisions every day that have financial implications. And you have to go back and look at everything in context as to why things were done. So other than that, there's no way to go back.
Okay. When you were talking about bringing business into town, first of all, have you done comparison studies with other towns our size as far as their sewer water rates?
Yes, we're doing that now.
Oh, okay. Well, you were saying that we don't pay anywhere near what other districts,
Right.
what other towns pay.
Right.
You do know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, here's how we do it. First off, there's virtually nobody else in Rensselaer County that has their own wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
So when I cite the county rate, that's what people are paying all over Rensselaer County. So that's one important comparative if you want to know what our neighbors are paying. But for example, we looked at all the municipalities in Greene County where the median household income is about 2/3 of what it is here. And every municipality in that county pays more than we will be paying after whatever rate increase we come up with. The state controller has a report where he talks about the average cost per person for sewer charges, and there's virtually nothing we can do here. I can't even imagine raising the rates high enough to meet the state average.
Okay.
So trust me, in the general water and sewer district, which is literally half the residents in this town, that $1.42 rate is just an anachronism. It's from another century.
Okay. I spoke with about this, with the previous administration. I would like you to consider single people, households, that have to pay the minimum. I know my water bill is the minimum all the time. I use half of the minimum. And I just don't think that is right. And I do hope that you take that into consideration.
So your recommendation would be not to have a minimum charge, but to go straight by usage?
Well, if you're going to charge by usage, yes, let's charge by usage. I don't, do you have any idea how many seniors are in the town versus families?
Well, what we do know is there's 4,663 residential units hooked up to our sewer system. Currently, 1,270 of them are paying the minimum charge. Now, we can presume that certainly most seniors living by themselves are in that category paying the minimum charge. And the minimum charge is quite the deal.
I know it's quite the deal, but we're using a fraction of that. And I would even imagine thinking with a household with 2 seniors in it. Seniors, you know, I grew up, you don't let the water run when you brush your teeth, and, you know, you conserve. It's just.
Well, I think the solution is to go easier on the minimum. The minimum charge is going to be raised, but we could go easier on that than the over the minimum usage.
Well, I'm asking if you would consider people that do not use a different charge for people that do not use the minimum. I'm just asking you to consider that.
Yes, okay.
Okay. And, one other thing I wanted to say is I would like to tell everybody, and I'm going to bring this up all the time, when your car registration is due or your license renewal is due, please come to the town hall on a Monday when motor vehicle is here, because when you mail it in, the state gets that money. And if you would do it here, renew it here, or go to Troy or Skodak, then that money goes to the county. And we need all the help we can get, okay? You're only helping yourselves. No, I will be bringing this up again.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I was actually going to talk about what she just said about the minimum,
Yeah.
people that pay the minimum. My idea mainly was more to, have a minimum, but make it at a lower amount, because I'm paying for whatever, what is it? I'm just going to throw out numbers because I don't know, I don't have my bill in front of me. Say it was 10,000 gallons, I don't know. And
Well,
I'm saying,
that's the minimum rate, 10,000 per floor.
oh geez, I can remember what I saw on my bill. I didn't expect it. If I'm only using maybe 3,000, maybe the minimum should be cut down to 4,000 or 5,000, have another level up, another level up, another level up. Instead of having this broad range, that also would make people maybe, oh, if I'm only using 8,000, if I save a little bit here, I might be down to the minimum. Where right now, they can use whatever they want.
But that's a bad result.
Excuse me?
It's a bad result because what it does is it reduces income for the system. That's one of the problems that the board's going to have when they price this. If you say, okay, you're going to pay this much, but if you get below this minimum, then we'll reduce it substantially.
No, I'm not saying get below the minimum. I'm saying you have a minimum amount.
Right.
And you pick an amount. Say it's 5,000.
And what you just said was, if you set a minimum amount, you encourage people to go below that amount because they'll reduce their bill.
But then again, they're not also using the water.
Absolutely.
Right, but
That's the problem.
But we're supposed to conserve water. I'm sorry.
But why should I be paying what somebody that's using 10,000 is using? I agree with her.
Patty, here's the thing. When you pay these fees, you're paying for more than just what you use. You're paying for operating and maintenance of the whole system. It's a public benefit. You pay school taxes whether you have children in school.
Don't get me
or not.
started on the school tax.
Well, that, you have to go to the school board to get.
I know, I've done that.
But all I'm saying is that there's a lot of situations where you pay for a public benefit that you don't specifically use. I think we need to look, I mean, Liz's general point, we'll look at. One of the points Dave makes is it's hard to, we have to raise a certain amount of revenue. And it's hard to project that revenue because once it becomes more expensive, a certain number of people are going to lower their usage so they qualify for the minimum. So you're going to lose some of the revenue that you're projecting to the system. So it's not as simple as just pay for what you use. And then there's Hampton Manor where there's a master meter and everybody's paying a flat charge. And it's the history of Hampton Manor that the water and sewer, you know, the person who has a hot tub takes 4 showers a day and waters her lawn, and I met her during the campaign, is getting over on the person, this single person who's living by themselves and is showering once a week.
But then how do we help them? So that it's, you know, because that, again, you're right, that's not fair.
Right.
But are you also getting the same amount as you would be for somebody, you know, for somebody else?
Right.
I'm just saying, make other tiers, you can, you know, if the minimum is higher, you know, price-wise, for 5,000, fine. But to hurt the seniors and people that are, you know, getting to that, you know, that's not right either. Because now you're losing long-time people.
Right, and look, there's no doubt, no one wants to hurt senior citizens. I am one, I like when we're not hurt. No one wants to hurt it, and that part of this equation breaks my heart. But people are going to have to pay. We're going to try to minimize the pain on people who have trouble paying. We looked into, or I looked into, how we could do some kind of senior exemptions. But the cost of creating that kind of system just bites into what we're trying to do here, and it also increases the bureaucratic work, the administrative work, and all that. So what I would do is say, we'll take all this into account when we come next month. Board meeting, we'll schedule a public hearing for April, and we'll have much more specific information for you then. And then you'll have that in hand, so you can look at it, and then at the public hearing, we can work this out together, find the best way to do it. Yeah. Anyone else on this?
You know, one more aside on the sewer system, wastewater treatment plant, not directly, at least at this point, regarding rates, is the Amtrak right-of-way. Bad planning. I mean, we're getting, unless something happened today, unless we heard something from Amtrak today, and this is now, we've been talking about this for, I would say about a year at least, that to make the sewer plant, wastewater treatment plant actually work, actually double the capacity that we're paying up to $15.6 million for, you need to have a pipe be run under the Amtrak right-of-way below the sewage treatment plant and eventually go out to the Hudson. For some reason, we haven't heard back from Amtrak. I would contend that this is something that should have been done at the beginning of the project to make sure we have the right-of-way using due diligence. I don't know whose fault it is, I'm still trying to find out. We hear from our engineering people and our consultants that they've been reaching out to Amtrak, but no response from them. That alarms me, because if for some reason Amtrak won't do it or can't do it, if the technology's not there to do it, we're authorized in spending up to $15.6 million with approximately $700,000 a year debt payment for absolutely nothing, for no increase in capacity. Now, the plant itself is absolutely gorgeous. It's state-of-the-art. I would encourage you to get down there if you can take a look at it. It's a remarkable plant. But if you walk just outside the plant, you go below it, you see the railroad track there. And this railroad track wasn't just built in the last 6 months. It's been there since the 1930s. And if you look at the plant, if you look across where the Hudson is, you see the railroad track in between. So you assume somebody smarter than I am would realize you got to do something with that track. Now, we were told initially, the previous administration, that would be looked into, that Amtrak was a problem, that it was initially a problem because of funding. Now, we've agreed, apparently, with Amtrak to pay $600,000 for the use of the right-of-way. Now, that'll be over 30 years. However, I haven't seen a shovel or anything like that starting to dig the bore for the right-of-way. Maybe I'm the only one that's concerned about it, I don't think so. But that is a real concern as far as potential rate increases go, because if this thing can't be done, or it can only be done at a prohibitive cost, we could be essentially paying for nothing. Think about that. So think about the possibility of paying an increased rate for a beautiful wastewater treatment plant, but no increase in the capacity, which is why we built the plant in the first place. So stay tuned. If anybody hears anything from Amtrak, if you're down at the station in Rensselaer and some of the people around are talking about, please report back to me, because we haven't heard anything.
Have we paid for that work to be done?
No.
Was that included in the cost of the plant?
It's included, well, it's part, Jim Connors indicated, a couple weeks ago, last month ago, I think it was, we agreed to bond out, or increase the bonding capacity, another $1.6 million. Jim Connors indicated, he gave a rough estimate, that it would cost about $800,000 of that increase to pay for that portion of the boring thing. But nothing's been done. So again, as I say, if anybody has some contact with the Amtrak people, or anybody, please let us know. Thank you.
Well, it happens to be an election year. What about talking to the people that might be coming up for re-election and saying,
We
hey,
have, Paul Tomko's working on it, his office is working on it, Kathy Marchionne's office is working on it.
then we can always waste our time with Schumer.
Yeah, we have not reached out to him.
Bring in the television cameras and he'll come.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there is that.
I hope we don't.
I went to the top DOT lawyers over system, over the road on my farm, but here's what they told me. There is no more right-of-way since early 72, 74, sometimes because there was so many arguments that they have to have a viable deed for that land. There's no more right-of-ways. So why don't you just dig under the tracks or rip them up and just say, there? Because they don't own that. They have a right-of-way.
Larry, we may end up doing that.
And another thing is, if you want some cheap engineering, you go to RPI, and the top students will figure out. In fact, my son, he's an environmental engineer. He submitted a long time ago from RPI when he graduated on your plant there, the water plant, and it was a better plan than the other one, but the town didn't accept it because they weren't fully engineers yet. But it was a better plan than the engineers that done your original plan here. So you go to RPI and they'll do it for nothing because they're far more expert than some of these engineers that lost it on the way.
Well, this town has had a theory that if you don't pay somebody $200 an hour, you're not getting your money back.
I just had a thought that I think you guys are going after the wrong railroad. Those tracks are owned by CSX. Amtrak rents that space. So I think it would be a little bit better if you went to CSX that owns the tracks to get this right away that you're talking about. You're going after the wrong people.
Well, we paid literally $1.8 or $9 million to 2 sets of engineering consultants to solve this problem.
Well, they should realize that themselves. I mean, if you go down to any of the crossings below on 9J, you'll see there's a little sign that CSX owns the tracks, not Amtrak. Amtrak rents those tracks to use them. They pay a large amount of money to rent them, but they're the rentee. You gotta go after the owner.
If they may own the tracks, but who owns the land on it? Because all the
CSX.
railroads stole the land, if you remember back in the history in the 1800s.
Well, that's a whole different thing. You'd have to get
Well, the numbers have
Vanderbilt up here, you know, he's down in his grave
so
right
out
now.
of control that none of you are blinking at $600,000 for a right of way of that size. So, anyone else want to say? Yeah, Pete.
I sent you the email after the last monthly meeting. Doesn't the town already have the right of way? Because the town is under the consent orders.
We have a pipe,
It's not a pipe,
we've
it's
had
not a
a
right
pipe
of way.
since 1930, and we have to replace it with a bigger, newer, better pipe. And they're demanding $600,000 for a right of way that we've been using for decades.
And the right of way that the town currently has isn't large enough for the new.
Right, right. Well, we can't go in there and do the actual construction work without their permission. They've now caught on that we have a pipe going through there, and they want their fair share. One of our consultants is saying that this is how they're stringing us along, that there are